Today we are here to discuss improving writing in the classroom, and we're first going to talk about why this is the professional development session that we selected. So the reason that this topic was selected for this session was based on two things. These are the results of an online needs assessment that you guys took a few weeks ago. And as you can see, it was broken down into four main areas. The four main areas aligned with our four instructional areas, which were mathematics, science, ELA, and miscellaneous. The goal is throughout the year we will cover one area in each of these main topics. However, there was a glaring area that we all stated that we needed more professional development in, and that was in ELA, more specifically the writing area of ELA. So this needs assessment drew me to that conclusion first. Also, as I'm sure the majority of you remember, at the beginning of the school year we looked at our PARCC summative data, and the number one goal that we had, or the number one need that our students had, was that they were struggling with explaining their mathematical thinking in writing. So based on that PARCC summative data, we came up with two school goals. The first one being that all students will improve their written communication by expressing complete thoughts that are logically organized. So putting that needs assessment data together, as well as the summative PARCC data and our school goal, we came up with an improved writing professional development session. So today we are going to first introduce the objectives of the session and review the norms that we've previously come up with. Then we are going to identify some more specific needs whenever it comes to writing, just to inform further professional development sessions. We will be listening to a podcast. As you guys are listening, I have papers that you guys are going to fill out, and it just has a spot for you all to write down any thoughts that you have, any takeaways that you have. After the podcast is over, we will discuss the notes taken and any areas of interest or concern. And then lastly, we will each identify one area within the 7 steps that are presented here to do some action research in our own classrooms. All right, the goals of this session. So again, we're going to further identify some more specific writing needs based on our ELA standards, and we'll do that here shortly. The main thing is I don't want this to be just another check the box. I want this to be something that is actually job embedded and long lasting, and you can really take with you into your classroom. So I want everyone to walk away today with at least one writing strategy that you would like to conduct action-based research in your own classroom on. And then ultimately, by implementing this strategy, we should be able to improve student achievement in writing across all subject areas. All right, I'll give you guys a second to just review our norms. Be on time, come prepared with your laptops as you have, one voice at a time. Be sure your cell phone volume is off. We do have snacks. Suck it up, build consensus. And we will all contribute. We also have our parking lot back there that if you have a question and don't want to interrupt, just write it down and we'll look at it at the end. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a second. You can either type this into your computer, or if you would like to come scan the QR code, this is just going to be a further needs assessment for you guys to do. And actually, we may just come back to, I'll let you guys do that at the end here when we do the other. Let's go ahead so that we don't waste any more time, and we will start our listening to the podcast. I'm going to give this to you guys. Okay. And you can see there's a section for you to put your thoughts and discussion points. Go ahead and start thinking about, of these 7 strategies, which one would you like to implement? And then also begin thinking about how we can measure student success with the implementation. meaning what data points can we gather as a team. So let's get started. Oops, I have to go here to do it. And I actually have it pulled up here, so we'll just listen to it this way.
Hi, thanks so much for downloading and listening.
Now that we've listened to our podcast, what are your thoughts, takeaways, and discussion points that you wrote down? Which of these would you like to implement in your own classroom?
Well, number 5, make students read their writing out loud, really spoke to me immediately, because I could attest to the benefits of when kids actually do share a piece of writing, they trip over themselves, and I just kind of sit and grin at them going, well, you know, if you can't read your writing, what makes you think that I can? And like, doesn't it sound like there should be a punctuation mark there, or you needed to take a breath in that big run-on sentence, you know? So there's so many things that they could catch if they just get into that that habit of reading it out loud to themselves before they say, okay, I'm done, I don't want to turn it in. And it's great.
I usually have them read out loud to the class after they finish their piece, and then and the same thing goes. If you can't read it, how can anybody else understand it?
Yeah, but even trying to get them into some habit of just read it to yourself before you let it rest, or come back with a new set of eyes and go read it in the corner, or get a fluency phone and whisper read it to yourself.
That's a good idea.
And having those kids read it or watch while it's being read, or you looking at the paper, you know, while they're reading it, to make sure that they're actually reading what is on the page and that it's, you know, authentic.
Yeah,
and
every
what
time
they wrote.
that they come over and conference with us, we sit down, they'll stand here or they'll stand and I'll have them read their writing to me, and they just start correcting things all the time. So try to get that to be some more autonomous with them. You know, would be, that's why I chose number 5.
Okay. And I like actually that whole idea of the fresh eyes. If they actually partner with somebody and switch papers, and then that person has to read out loud because they don't have the reference of like what I meant to put on the paper.
Right, that's true.
Where as a writer, you know what you mean to write on a piece of paper, whether it gets communicated there or not doesn't always happen. And even as adults, we have each other proofread things before we know we need to send something out. We want to make sure it's crystal clear and you know, a solid piece of writing.
Yeah.
But you know, sometimes to parents and things. So
Yeah.
building that with our students of
But
switch
they need
papers
to
and-
start somewhere, though.
Exactly, to give them that experience. And then that also lends to that partner being able to provide that feedback. Like, I didn't quite understand this, or I need more details here. So, you know, you get 2 kind of things for the one price of one.
Two birds,
process.
one stone. Right, exactly.
Well, yeah, and that's a higher order thinking skill too, right? Being able to, what was I going to say? Well, providing that feedback, like you said.
Yeah, and it helps them practice their, you know, a lot of their listening skills too. You know, with
Right.
their speaking and listening skills. You know, as
And
long
that
as revising
criticism.
and editing.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I agree. I
I
disagree.
like number 6 as well. Grade with them. What I'll do is I'll find a really good sample based off of how I modeled, and then I'll put it up on the smartboard and have everybody look at it with permission, of course, from that student. And we kind of just pick it apart, and we have a rubric in front of us when we do that. So 6 is good grading with them. I like that as well as 5.
Yeah, well, and the struggle I have though is like finding those
Exemplars, right?
getting
Yeah.
those exemplars,
But
you know.
Even if it's just a piece of their
Yeah,
writing,
yes.
Exactly.
I mean,
Like
it doesn't
cups.
have to be the whole
Maybe
thing.
maybe
it
a
can just be a
sentence
piece.
or something
yeah.
that we highlighted
Yeah,
on, and
yeah,
they
exactly.
love that.
They love being on the
should-
spotlight.
They love it. Yeah,
They love being
it.
on the
that's my
spotlight.
work on the smartboard.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this was a
It's a
great
huge-
topic sentence because it hooked the reader.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Or
Yeah.
I like the transition here.
Yeah.
So it
Or
may
look
not
at
be
the
one
supporting
person's piece of
details.
writing
Discuss it with
overall.
Yeah.
But you could say, look at this one here. This topic sentence was, you know, a strong topic
Or-
sentence.
or check out this
piece of paper-
comparison, or-
This piece was, you know, had great transitions. This one had great sentence structure and flow, and wasn't choppy. You know, so you don't have to necessarily pull from one piece of writing if you can't find one that meets all those needs. But
Which we probably would.
between different students, you could possibly pick
Yeah.
enough samples to say, okay, this is where we're going with this. This earns that 4.
And a lot of times when I see frequent mistakes too, I'll do the same thing. I'll ask permission and say, you know, Sally made this mistake, but it looks to me like everyone is making this common mistake. So that everyone can, I don't have to go around and conference with every single student saying the same exact thing. I can just do it that one time.
Right,
Yeah.
you make a spin on it, go, this is my favorite mistake today because.
Yeah, there you go,
And they're like,
yeah.
oh yeah, I'm still
Yes.
getting attention and in the limelight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's well, and that builds that growth mindset
Well,
too.
absolutely.
That's huge.
Absolutely.
That's huge. Okay, so here's what. So it sounds like you all have at least an area that you would like to implement in your own classroom.
Mhm.
Okay, so just to keep you guys accountable, I am gonna have you guys scan this QR code, and just these 7 things are on. You can go ahead and come up and do that if you want. Okay. Or you can type in the URL. Okay. And the next question is, how are we going to measure our student success with the implementation? We kind of talked about this. Writing is really hard. It's going to have to be qualitative. I don't think there's a way to be quantitative. You're kind of our rubric queen. You really are, in a good way, you know? I mean,
It would be
It would have to be
Yeah,
quantitative over time.
over
I'm
time. I
sure.
mean, you would note, if you're keeping data and tracking like where you want to see the improvements over time, what you would hope to see is when they turn in their finished piece that they are moving further along in that rubric to the higher scores more consistently, rather than you constantly as a teacher having to guide them there, seeing that they're building that capacity in themselves through an implementation like this.
When we were working together, we and I still use it today, put a rubric with their writing and their homework package.
yes,
so they
I've
can do
seen it.
And it's just a basic 4 scale, 1 through 4 under content, organization, mechanics, and such. But they also track that in their data binders every week on a table, so they could see which areas. I'm saying, okay, content and organization. I'm still not quite at that. I'm still getting these 2s. What's going on? So we can build our conferences, and they can self-assess, by tracking their own pieces. And they can clean up the mechanics or the neat handwriting, pretty easily.
Right.
And they're like, oh, I can type this? Okay, well, and so that covers a whole bunch more, standards too.
Would that rubric fit writing across content?
I use it across the
Science,
fiction and
right?
the nonfiction. I think we could definitely adapt it. It's a pretty general rubric, so yeah, we could definitely take a look at it and see if we can make it work.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the next step is, now that you guys are going to be accountable for whatever fix you're going to implement here, if you guys will just come back next time with your student data. So in this case, it's just going to be the writing, so that we can all look at it and decide. Now, I guess the other thing is, we do probably need to decide, do we want to do a science writing? Do we want to do a math writing? Or do we want to do...
I would vote for math myself. We
Okay,
got
since the park.
we've got the park coming up, and
Data.
that's always
Yeah.
been a tricky venue for them to express their thinking.
Yeah.
And that goes
especially-
along with our math goal, because our math goal
Right,
Yeah,
is
exactly.
on
So
that
there's again 2
mathematical
birds, 1
reasoning and
stone.
being able
Yeah.
to articulate their thinking in a clear and concise and accurate manner. And so building that precision with their language, being the math, person, is huge. And that's where I struggle all the time with getting kids to be way more precise with
Okay.
their language and their
Yes.
explanations. So I think math wouldn't be a bad place to start.
No,
Okay.
agreed.
I think we've agreed then we will bring data, and we are good to go. Thank you guys.
Excellent.
Thank you.